Sheena Ringo, Muzai Moratorium. We are on the final track, ladies and gentlemen, the track by track. We're on to Morphine, but don't worry, we will be doing track by tracks of the following albums because I really have enjoyed this album a lot. Now, as promised, I went back and, because obviously I recorded the last few reactions in the hotel in Taiwan. Now I'm in Korea, a couple of days have passed, but I've come back and I've done a re-listen to the last few tracks just in advance of this. I was listening to them on my phone, went through, listened to, so I went back to Tsumiki Asobi. I've been going through, just getting a vibe. Certainly the last half of this album has been a little bit more chill, I think, now I come to think about it, than the first half of the album. And yet it's been really interesting to, again, hear the variation that she put in. But we're going into the very last track, Morphine. And I think the whole way that Keikoku set this up is like there is a big kind of like, this song is just put at the end as it's just this moment. It's like, here we go. Everything fades down. Morphine's about to come in. Final track on the album. I am really interested to know how an artist like this, who definitely was structuring an album rather than just a series of songs, I'm really interested to know how she capped off what is definitely one of the most impressive debut albums I've ever heard. Really enjoyed this album. It's had its ups and downs. I have talked about the bits I preferred to the bits I've maybe, that one. But I am honestly really excited to see how this ends, and I'm hoping we end on either a high note or just a characterfully interesting Sheena Ringo note. Let's jump in and find out. And then, yes, after this, like I say, give me a couple of days and we'll start on the next album as well. Right, Morphine, Sheena Ringo, the last track on Muzai Moratorium. Let's do this. Oh, I like that riff. You can feel the energy building up before it's even dropped in. Didn't expect that. Again, it's just got this very sort of smooth vibe to it. So you can hear that building melody that she likes so much on this album. Oh, I like that little bit of bass there, a little high bass string bend there. That bass line is adding so much to the chorus of this song. It's all really pretty, but when you add that little walk up, it just gives a little extra vocal hook, a little bit for the melody to build up around it. Ah, don't fade it out. God damn it. That second layer. What's that thing over the melody? Is that just a vocal effect? If it is, I love it. Anyway, look, I've got to pause it before the next album starts. Played it through to the last second. Sorry, I'm dying. I'm still recovering from a cough I had in Taiwan. Look, I really enjoyed that. How does it stand up as a final song? That's an interesting one. I think this has to be reviewed both on its merits as a song and as an album closer. So I'm going to start by talking about it as a song before we get into its album closing position, because I think there's a lot of thematical stuff that we'd need to discuss to talk about that. So simplest thing first of all, as a song, what is it? I think it's a beautiful, very relaxed, very seemingly simple song, which it uses a lot of techniques that Sheena Ringo uses in other songs, like the whole way that she builds up the scale that she used to build up the melody in the pre-chorus. We've heard her do similar things in other songs, even on this album. And there are certain familiar things where this feels like a very comfortable song, Sheena Ringo style, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad. You know, I always say, like, an artist doing something that very much appeals to their core sound is not a bad thing if they are an artist who regularly does expand and test themselves in other places. I think it's okay to do something which feels kind of comfortable and within your wheelhouse. And for me, this is very much that. But that's also not to say it's a cookie cutter, her just doing a song that's very low effort. There are some clever things still in this. As I say, I love the fact that the chorus, which is na, 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 it's very simple, and on its own it could just be a simple chorus and you could carry on like that. That would be enough, but she adds that little walking up bit. That bit means that every time you have a chorus that is just nice enough on its own, just as a simple melody, you're listening to that, but you're always listening to it with a little bit of a building tension, waiting for the to come in at the end of each time round. And that means that rather than just enjoying a simple melody, it's a simple melody that has a constant feeling of just a little bit of, oh, wait, here it comes. You know, it's nice. I mean, it's kind of like a microcosm for what a song should be anyway. I mean, a song in itself, you spend most of the time waiting for it to build you up to the chorus, assuming that, like most contemporary rock and roll or pop songs, it is a chorus-centric kind of thing. You know, it's, sorry, that sounded very artsy, but you know what I mean. It's like, you know, there is that quality in every song that you feel like you're building towards something. But I love the fact that even just the small repeat few bars that make up the chorus's concept are about building up to just that final cadence where it builds up. I like that. I think that's really cool. It's a nice little hook. You know, this is a song that has those little playful ideas. It has the fact that, for example, the second verse is pretty much entirely forsaken for a bit of whistling. And, you know, we just go straight into the pre-chorus pretty much. I think this is a song that is simple in many ways, but at the same time certainly feels like it has a sense of direction and a sense that it's not just there to make up the numbers, but has some little clever ideas. But talking of making up the numbers, yes, let's talk about this as the final song on the album, because I think there's something more conceptual about why this works so well as the final song of the album. Because musically it's rather interesting that a song like this, which is quite sedate compared to a lot of the rest of the album, is where we finish. And using the word sedate, ironically, is rather appropriate because, of course, the song's called Morphine. And my vibe from what we're talking about is that I was wondering what morphine would actually mean in terms of this song, and the vibe I get is that this song is kind of just about almost like putting yourself on painkillers, just like, I can't take any more of this. I'm just gonna numb myself out. That's the vibe I get from what she's talking about here, and I think that is an interesting way to end the album more thematically, because this album has focused a lot on stress, the stresses that come from being very angst-ridden, from being a teenager. You know, I think I said this before when we were listening to songs like Koko der Kishte. I think this is a song where, if you think about it, those are very teenage problems. You think, if it was a 30-year-old dealing with a similar situation, you'd probably deal with that much better. You'd be more world weary. You'd world wise maybe. But a lot of the things that make this so interesting, and we could say this for Correct City. We could say this through Marriage Sadistic. All of these songs, sadistic. All of these songs are things where they could affect an adult, but they're much more tumultuous for a teenager or a younger person. So this is an album built on the angst of stressing about not knowing how to deal with things, about how everything is like you're trying to find your place in the world, trying to fight against things that are just new and new experiences, and meeting new hurdles and finding things that are unfair or just difficult to navigate in life. And that's really the mastery beyond the music. That's the mastery of this album, is that not only lyrically, because lyrics are there to like confirm the picture, but the music has to paint the picture. You can't just hang any old song on a good set of lyrics and say, oh, it's really deep. It's like, no, the music has to be the core thing that conveys the emotion. And for me, I feel like you could play this to someone and without them even knowing what any of the words mean, they'd be able to feel what this album's about. And so there is this running vibe, whether you know the lyrics or not, there's this running vibe of just this inner turmoil throughout the entire album. So there's something about having the final track be, nah, I'm done. Plug me in. Plug me in. Numb me out. I can't be doing this. Nah, just numb me out. It's like, give me some morphine. I'm done. There's something about that which okay, yeah, the lyrics I suspect actually go a little bit deeper than that, really. But there's something about putting that at the end of the album that I actually think thematically is a great way to close out the album. I think it's a great way to close out the album. I think it kind of actually it caps things off really interesting. I think musically, as a final song, it's satisfying melodically. It's not the sort of song I would usually think of as being a final song. I don't like the fact it fades out. I've got to be honest. I don't like the fact it fades out. Even given that, and I've talked about fade outs before. I know this came out in 1999, where that was more commonplace. Still, I just feel like the album is so well written, it deserves proper endings to the songs. So I'm not a big fan of that, but I will say that overall, that being kind of forgiven for just what it is, a stylistic thing that can be explained at least, I think this is an odd way to end an album. It's a very unceremonious song. It's neither the big final flourish nor the quiet introspective subversion. It's just a very normal song to end a very insane album in places, which is surprising. If someone told me they thought this was an anticlimactic ending, I wouldn't blame them. Wouldn't necessarily agree with them, but I would totally understand where they were coming from. If someone said to me, it's a shame, it was a bit of an anticlimactic ending to the album. Yeah, I think I'd nod and say, I can see that. But for me, I feel like this is the sort of album where you're supposed to listen intently. It's not one of those background albums. It's one of those albums you sit down and you really listen to. And if you're sitting down and listening to it intently, I feel like this is... It has a clear thematic point to make at the end of the album, in my opinion, which is that once you've been through all of these things, you need to... I mean, obviously this is morphine, but I kind of... and yeah, that's the subject. I more imagine it like, all these songs are like the cuts, the scars, the injuries to your personality. And this is just like someone at the end just going, here's a tiny little plaster. There you go. You'll be all right. I kind of feel like that's what this song is doing at the end. It's like putting a little plaster on you and just going, yeah, you'll be okay. And I like that as a rather, in that way, it's a rather comically funny way to... It's kind of got a twee quality as a way of ending an album that has been so dramatic. In its pure lack of drama, it's a rather intriguingly... You could say it's a rather subversive way to end the album just because it's not dramatic. Either direction. It's neither too big nor too small. It's just a very normal, sedate ending. Anyway, there you go. As always, those are my thoughts. I've been looking forward to seeing what you guys think. And just a quick reminder, I will be picking up straight away with the next album. Give me 3 or 4 days, just depending on the schedule. The next album I'll do a track by track of. I'm intending to at least do the first three albums. I'd probably, to be honest, I mean, knowing me, I'm probably going to get interested and just keep going through all of the albums at this rate. But at least the first three albums I'm going to do track by track. So yeah, as always, like I say, subscribing and all that's appreciated. But just however you follow the content, just know that there will be more coming. And a big thank you from me for everyone who's been so supportive. Loved all the comments that have come in under these videos. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan or wherever I may be for the next one of these, for now, ciao ciao.